It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, who is a phenomenal woman. She has a wonderful way of promoting responsible citizenship. She's working on some things within the community for citizens and educating you on American history, which is sadly lacking within our country. And her site is restoreheritage.org. That's restoreheritage.org. And I present to you Peg Luksik.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming today. You know, every single person has ended their speech by saying, "God bless America." That's because our founders didn't bequeath to us a nation. They recognized that in this nation we call America, we were bequeathed with rights by a creator. If there is no creator, you are not endowed. Now, our illustrious president, whose name we won't mention, has in 3 separate occasions managed to quote the Declaration of Independence and eliminate God. If we are not a nation under God, we are not a nation that is free. It is that simple.
It is that simple.
I can sum up what's wrong in this country in one sentence. Today is October 30th. Yesterday, if your children were in a government school, they probably wished each other Happy Halloween. 2 months from now, your children will not be allowed to wish each other Merry Christmas in that same school. If we want to restore what's wrong, if we want to restore the heritage of America, our heritage was not based on money. Our heritage was based on morality. You can't have morality without religion. The only voice that tells the government, you may have called that legal, but it was wrong, and therefore it needs to change, is the voice of the church. Isn't it interesting that in America today, a community organizer can tell you how to vote, but a pastor can't? Do you know that the Declaration of Independence was first proclaimed from the pulpits of America? When they wrote it, there wasn't talk radio. They sent it out, and the churches of America stood up for freedom. King George closed the legislatures in Massachusetts and in Virginia, but even King George didn't have the indecency to tell the churches in this land that they had to be silent. Why does the IRS think it has that right? If we want to restore America's freedom, we need to stand up for God. We need to stand up for morality. We need to be a nation under God once again. Or truly, ladies and gentlemen, we will only be a nation under tyranny. There is no other choice. I get such a chuckle out of the people who say, "Oh, but the churches, they shouldn't be allowed to talk." I don't know any pastor that has an army. You don't have to belong to a church. If you belong, you don't have to attend. If you attend, you don't have to listen. And if you listen, you don't have to obey. So why is the government so afraid of the church? Because the church is a living, breathing, constant reminder that the highest authority in America is not the politicians in Washington, D.C. We aren't going to fix anything in America until we remind them of that fact. This is a nation that was founded on the basic premise that the sovereign is not the government. The sovereign is your creator. If you want your nation back, stand up for God. Display your faith publicly, privately. So the government can say, well, you can't put a nativity set in the town hall. What if every storefront around the town hall put a religious Christmas decoration up? You'd have 70 of them. What a statement that would make. I understand that the election is in 3 or 4 days. I hope you all go vote. I hope you vote your conscience. I hope you don't vote alone. But understand that this country's salvation is not going to come from any political party. This country's salvation is going to come from you and me, the people, standing up for the recognition that the voice of the church is the voice that needs to be freed first. We need to have a consistent voice that can tell the government, you may have called it legal, but it's still wrong. That's why issues like abortion can't be allowed to go away. That's why marriage is so important. We have the economic problems that we have because we are no longer a nation that recognizes basic moral principles. Because we are a nation where Washington thinks it can redefine the family and then replace half of it. Well, I have news for Washington. The family was ordained by God Himself. It is the most effective health, education, and welfare entity in the nation today. Do not be swayed by an election. If you want your country back, roll up your sleeves, get involved, stay involved, and start by standing up for the sovereign of America, the one everybody calls to bless him, to bless us up at the end of every speech. Don't just wait till the end of the speech. Stand up for him today and every day in everything you do. That's how God will bless America. People have said to me, so what are you doing now? I'm defending God. Oh, does God need a defender?
Sure does.
Technically, no. I mean, God could have gone to Egypt and saved the Israelites all by himself. He is, after all, God. But instead he sent Moses. Because he gave us this world. He said we were supposed to build the kingdom. He said we were supposed to be his emissaries. Our ancestors in faith got fed to lions. That's how they changed the Roman Empire. They changed the culture of the most powerful empire on earth because they would never back away from the fact that their sovereign lived in heaven. What happened to us? If we want to change government, we need to change the culture. That is within our reach, right now, today, and every day. If you want to save America, restore her to a nation where God's name can be proclaimed from every corner of the land without apology and without silence. If you do that, Washington will bow. Because that's the only entity, the sovereign of the nation. When America stood up against the British Empire, they began by saying with a firm reliance on divine providence. Now Washington won't even mention divine providence. Well, you know, those who relied on divine providence beat the strongest empire in the world, and they have done it multiple times. The Roman Empire doesn't exist anymore. Christians are still here. The British Empire doesn't exist anymore. America's still here. Reliance on providence is how we're going to beat those folks in Washington who think they're building a new American empire. I don't want an empire. I want my republic back. I am going to fight for it one heart and one soul at a time. I invite you to join me, because when you truly rely on providence, when you are not ashamed of the God of the universe who endowed us with our rights, there will be no mountain we cannot climb and no soul we cannot touch. Thank you. God bless you.